Okay, well, the little project I've been promising myself to do is a mash tun build. This is a Coleman 48 quart cooler, 45 litres over this side of the pond, so it should be big enough for most of the brewing needs that I'm ever going to need to push out. So without further ado, I'll start running through the basics. Obviously you've probably, like me, watched many other videos, so you'll have an idea on some of the basis. So I'm just going to cover it mainly for the components that you can buy here in the UK. For the purpose of that, I will be supplying, or the items will be all from a company called Toolstation. That's where I've bought all my current fittings that I needed. There are a couple of other bits that you will see during the build, which I already have, including the copper pipe, which I already had in stock. So I just had to buy myself some extra fittings just to do this job off. Okay, let's crack on. Okay, so the parts build for the tap section of the mash tun. This is a 15mm compression fitting with a 1/2 inch thread. This is called a tank connector. This is what you use for your cold water supply tanks, and it comes with the rubber washer, and that just clamps against your side wall. We're not going to need the nut. You have a 1/2 inch socket, your 1/2 inch ball valve, another socket, and then a hose tail connector or hose barb, depending on what you want to call them. And I'll just put those together for you. Okay, so this is the dry fit assembly. As you can see, the hose, the connector, the ball valve, the other connector, and then the tank fitting. And where my fingers are is where your cooler wall would be. Okay, so we'll go and get it assembled. Okay, so there's the tank connector through the side wall of the cooler. It looks a bit strange because it's now full of water. So we're just testing the integrity of the fitting, and hopefully you can see it's leak free. Here I'm just marking the pipe. We're just marking them off 1 centimetre apart. Okay, so this is the manifold design. You can see it's 4 branches with one flowing in with a slight little connection piece there onto a T, onto an elbow, and that just push fits straight into the back of the tank connector. Now most people don't solder any of the connections. I'm going to solder some of them, but only ones like on the straight through, so I can disconnect this section. This section will be straight through, so I can still clean these pieces out, but still at least keep some of the parts rigid. Obviously if you can't solder, it's not an issue. All you need to do, just use a pair of pliers, water pump pliers, and just crimp these slightly to nip them together. Some you'll find do seem to be tighter than others, but then you'll find another one will literally just fall off all the time. You might notice there are some different fittings. These ones are called soldering, as you can see the little moulding impression there is filled with solder. So you just basically got to heat those up with a little bit of flux, and they will melt and fuse the two parts together. These ones are called end feed and don't have any solder. You have to apply the solder manually with these types of fittings. These are slightly cheaper. If you're buying small pack quantities, you tend to find these are the ones that are sold in the DIY stores. You can buy these ones as well. So you can see the difference there with the T-joint. That's called an end feed. And the same with that one. They don't have the solder. You just need to add that in. Obviously some of these connections don't need to actually solder. Okay, so all I've got to do now is cut a few slots and clean a few parts up. Okay, and here you have the final manifold. One end is just soldered all the way across and the corners are left free for disassembly. The joint there is soldered, but the outlet pipe is free to move. I can do this one-handed. That will just go in there like that. Okay, well that's my mash tun manifold built. The next project and the next video will be a sparge arm to go on the top. So don't forget to subscribe for the next video. If you've got any questions on how I built this, or you need to know any more information, please feel free to drop me a personal message or put a comment in the comments box, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, thanks for watching.